Howdy y'all. Today I wanted to do a video on the messy government response to the Maui wildfires and a couple things that we can learn from it. As is no secret, the government response to the devastating Maui wildfires in Hawaii has been less than optimal, we'll say. From carelessness in general, the government just not seeming to care about it, a slap in the face by the former Vice President of the United States trying to relate to people who have lost everything to these fires, talking about when he had a minor kitchen fire in one of his multiple mansions, to a paltry relief check of $700 to people who literally only have the clothes on their backs. And don't forget that they're sending another multi-billion-dollar package to Ukraine. Why is this the case? Why doesn't the government care? Why has the government chosen to take this route? Why would the government ignore their quote-unquote own people in dire need while sending billions and billions and billions of dollars to a country that most people can't point out on the map, and frankly, very few people are interested in getting very involved in? There's a million ways that you could take this question and this topic, but I wanted to focus on two key takeaways. One, it's obvious from a number of things that we've seen already that the government doesn't care. And how could that be the case? How could the government not care about people literally on the streets from a wildfire and then also send billions of dollars to a random corrupt Eastern European country? Well, let me ask you this. Why should the government care? All we as a people in general have ever done for years and years and years is to incentivize them to do whatever they want without repercussions. Let me ask you this. What did we do to stop it? What have we ever done to stop it? We say this is horrible, that what the government's doing when it comes to Maui, what they're doing with Ukraine. What have we done to stop it? What have we really done to stop it? We ceded the ground a long time ago as a people that the federal government had any business taking part in people's lives, even in emergencies, and we've allowed a system to grow unfettered that is a self-protecting system in which people can get rich, where they can be blackmailed and blackmail others, where they can garner a huge amount of power for themselves and their buddies. See, when we use the terminology their people, why don't they care about their people? The thing is, their people are actually being taken care of. We are not their people. Their buddies in Washington and the bureaucrats and the lobbyists and everything else, and their buddies in the international stage, they're taken care of. They're not hurt by this. They're not bothered by this. And all we do is sit back and incentivize them to behave this way. Their people are fine, and their people are not us and not the poor people in Hawaii who have no place to go. As long as we, this is kind of the way the government thinks, as long as we give the people just enough, right? Like a man that's dying of thirst, but you give them just enough water to keep them from actually dying, right? And the people stay off our backs. We just keep them satisfied enough so that they don't actually do anything. They whine and complain a lot, but they don't really do anything. And if they really get mad, well, we'll deflect, right? We'll put up some pointless news story that really doesn't have any effect on anything but gets people's attention. Or, they'll get mad and they'll go in and they'll vote in another politician that's going to be paid off with the same money as everyone else, right? This is the situation that we're in. This is why they don't care what happens to the people in Maui. So they sent people $700 checks and a little bit of other stuff after they've lost everything, not just their houses, their possessions, their property, everything, right? It's gone. In some cases, their actual money. It's gone. And yet the government, with as much money as they spend, could on a whim, with not really touching the budget, go in and fix everything, buy people new houses, build new stuff, everything. And why doesn't it? Why does it go ahead and send money to Ukraine while people literally suffer in the streets, while quote unquote their people literally suffer in the streets? Because we've incentivized them to behave that way. We've given them a reason to behave that way. We've given them a lot of reasons, actually. We've de-incentivized them to fix any problems, because if you fix problems, people start expecting you to do it pretty regularly. And you also don't have anything to run on in the next election if you fix all the problems, right? All they have to do is talk about these problems. They've figured out a way to manipulate us for years, where if they talk about the problems and they pretend fight in Washington between Republicans and Democrats and they act like it's a big deal and they don't actually do anything, but they have a lot of good news bits, they have a lot of good interviews on Fox News or wherever else, then people would just turn a blind eye to it. Why fix anything? In fact, it would only hurt your political standpoint. It would only, or your political standing and your political power. You'd shift up the status quo, and we don't do anything to shift up the status quo. And that's also accepting that, in general, the government could fix a lot of these problems. In a lot of ways it can't, but by allowing them into realms that they have no business being, they can pretend that they can solve problems while also tricking us into not doing anything to fix the real issue, which is Washington. And then I want to make another point too. And this is not meant to be too harsh, but let's be realistic. The people of Hawaii are mad right now. And we would think, putting ourselves in their shoes, they would have a right to be. But let me ask you something. Just a little bit of self-reflection here. And comment down in the comments below. Let me know what you think about this. Like and subscribe makes a big difference helping me to get this out there, especially as much as I've been throttled. But let me ask you, if a neighbor, say your neighbor was to take all their money, all their extra money, and they go and invest it with a well-known swindler and liar, and then that swindler and liar makes off with that money, and the neighbor gets really mad about it, would we say they really have a right to be mad? It's like, well, you all knew what was going to happen and you did it anyway. Maybe you're making the connection. Realistically, Hawaii has voted and allowed these kinds of people to flourish in the government, to make the government corrupt as it is. They're simply receiving the fruits of their labor. And the rest of the country has received that as well, or will receive that. And I'm not just talking about Democrats. I'm talking about Washington. Republicans and Democrats are just as guilty, by and large, with very little exception. I'm making the point that we really shouldn't be upset about this because this is what we've asked for. This is what we've let happen. This is what we voted for. And especially when you think about Hawaii, because it is a little worse with Democrats. And, they're one of the bluest states out there. That's what they should expect because that's what they voted for. We shouldn't be upset about something that we have the power to influence and change and yet choose not to for whatever reason. I hope that you all found this interesting. Hope that it's given you something to think about. If you like what we do at the Kentuckian, hit that like and subscribe button. Don't forget about our social media out there that's linked in the description below. Don't forget about our merchandise shop. And if you'd like to support me in a more personal way, my Patreon is also linked down in the description below. Remember, friends, as long as you and I are doing what's right, we make a real difference in this old world. Been Ryan Dalton of the Kentuckian, signing off.